The story begins with a fool drinking water from the ground. He wakes up to a message from the system, welcoming him to the apocalyptic world and informing him that the reincarnation game is about to start. He has 59 seconds to prepare. The poor guy has just woken up and has no idea what's happening. Right in front of him is a huge zombie. He falls backward, wondering what the hell is going on. The world seems destroyed, and he has no idea where he is. The system announces that he has 50 seconds to prepare. In this apocalyptic world, the only goal is to survive, and the functions start to activate. Everything is happening too fast for the poor guy, and he begins to wonder if he's in some kind of nightmare. A system message warns that in 48 seconds, the zombies will come out of their static state, so he should find a place to hide. He starts to be sure that, with such a terrible plot, this could only be a dream. He punches himself in the face, saying he needs to wake up. His head snaps back, and from the pain he realizes this feels way too real. He starts running in desperation, trying to find a place to hide, with 36 seconds left. However, the entire city is filled with zombies. The system tells him that the planet of the blue star is similar to Earth, but 100 times bigger. With 30 seconds remaining, he needs to find a place to hide. But the problem is there are zombies everywhere, so it's not easy. The message says that the world is full of zombies and mutant creatures, and he needs to kill them to collect energy and become stronger. The poor guy has been walking for 15 seconds and is already exhausted, wondering what he did to deserve such a fate. At 22 seconds, he starts vomiting. At 18 seconds, he declares that he is an expert at games, so he won't die so easily. The system announces that he has a special warehouse and can use the collectability skill to gather materials and items from mutants. The creatures of this world are suppressed, but every 30 days, they will become stronger. There are only 10 seconds left, and he is desperately looking for a solution. That's when he sees a small zombie carrying a shield. It's his last chance, so he runs toward it, grabs the shield, and tears it from the zombie's arm. He also snatches a smoke grenade from the zombie's belt and starts running, screaming, as the last second finally arrives. The poor guy gets headbutt, and his neck hits the ground hard. The zombies begin to move and the game starts. The poor protagonist is already surrounded, with zombies closing in on him. He knows that if he doesn't escape quickly, there will be no way out. The problem is that the one on top of him isn't that weak. Unfortunately, he gave it a strong kick, saying he would have to abandon the shield right from the start. He grabbed the smoke grenade, threw it toward the fools, and told them to taste this. With that, the desperate guy started running again. The problem was that he didn't have a superhero physique, and there were people crying for help all around him. He saw several hanging from poles and branches. It seemed that all of them had also been teleported from Earth. He urgently needed to find a place to hide. That's when he saw a small shop and decided to run toward it. At least inside, there wouldn't be as many creatures, right? But then, a message appeared, warning him that inside that restaurant were 27 zombies, and entering there was basically asking to become food. Seeing the red window message, he already knew it wasn't a good idea. As soon as he moved away, he saw two other guys approaching. The system then warned him that the supermarket next door had only 6 zombies and clean water, which would be perfect for him. However, he saw the two guys entering the restaurant and wondered if they couldn't see the message that appeared for him. That's when he started wondering if he had the infamous cheat. He went into an alley, and the system informed him that there were no zombies there and a rank 1 resource box. He entered the room and immediately closed the door. The biggest enemy for this gamer was clearly his own lungs. In the box, he found a bottle of mineral water, an axe, and a physical improvement potion. The system informed him that the human physical rank could be classified into 5 levels, and this potion helped advance it. The protagonist was impressed that, by using it, he would get stronger just like that. In the apocalypse, there was no choice, so he used it right away. However, his arm started to swell terribly, and the boy began to scream in agony from the pain, feeling like he was about to die. What kind of cursed evolution was this? The system warned him that he only had a 30% chance of surviving. The poor guy wanted to know what kind of game doesn't warn you about things like this. He lay on the ground like trash, writhing in agony, while outside, a bunch of zombies were breaking in because of his screams. He began to bite his own lip, realizing he couldn't scream anymore or he would attract even more. He would have to endure no matter how painful. Outside, everyone was running away from the creatures. One of them approached a guy who prepared a katana and sliced its head off. The guy was impressed. It seemed like his average physique was really useful. He was going to be the best in this area. His name was Jiren, and he was the first person to have an abnormal physique in that region. Meanwhile, our boy was still suffering, grabbing water from the drawer and drinking it. Finally, the pain passed, and he thanked his luck for surviving despite only having a 30% chance. He cried, saying that this cursed game doesn't warn about anything. Then he heard someone shouting for help and wondered who the heck was attracting a bunch of zombies to that place. On the roof was a distressed girl in a dress, almost being eaten by two monsters. Because of her screams, a horde of zombies was breaking down the door to the boy's place. It seemed this safe haven wasn't so peaceful anymore. He grabbed the axe and the fallen shield. The system informed him that there were 7 zombies on the second floor, but they were distracted by the woman, so he had a chance. The boy was brave and knew that in an apocalyptic world, the only way to survive was to fight. It was time to test the strength of his evolved body. While the poor lady was about to be eaten, someone hit the monster on the head with an axe. Our boy told the crazy woman to scream quieter because she was attracting tons of zombies, but she just kept begging for help in desperation. While she complained, the boy was busy dealing with the zombies, distributing axe blows left and right. He quickly noticed that both his strength and reaction time were much better. When she saw the dead monsters, she started screaming again, and he begged her to stay quiet for just 1 second. That's when the zombie horde burst into the building from below. The boy told her to grab his hand because they had to run, but seeing the number of zombies, she said she wasn't too keen on the idea. Meanwhile, the boy was busy collecting a bunch of items. Then the creatures reached his floor. He realized there wasn't enough time to save the woman. On the left side, there were no zombies, but there was also no way out. On the right, there were 11 zombies, but on the 3rd floor, he would find something safe. Obviously, without any other choice, he headed right. As soon as he turned, he ran into 2 more zombies. The monsters wasted no time and rushed toward him. But the boy wasn't weak either and quickly landed a blow on one's forehead. The horde was getting closer, and he prepared himself. This level 1 zombie was way too easy for him. He kept running, determined to clear the building. One of the fools even stuck its head out of the window. He saw the elevator, but as he got closer, he realized he needed a card to call it. Just then, smoke billowed from the side, and a much larger zombie appeared in front of him. The boy turned around with a dumbfounded expression, wondering if he would have to fight that thing. The system informed him that the key to the presidential area was on the 3rd floor and that the creature in front of him was carrying it. He quickly noticed both the key and the elevator card attached to the zombie's belt. That was what he needed, so there was no choice. He lunged to take down the monster. His attack hit the creature's shoulder, but it didn't seem to do much damage. Worse yet, his axe got stuck. The monster threw a punch in return, but the boy managed to block it with his shield. However, the monster followed up with a charged punch, delivering a barrage of blows that crushed the boy's shield. He couldn't hold on, and the shield flew out of his hands. At the same time, another zombie came at him. Since his axe was stuck in the monster's shoulder, he couldn't defend himself. But the boy was brutal, grabbing the zombie's head and ripping it off, asking if it really thought he was that weak. The big zombie came at him from behind, so the boy threw the head into its mouth, telling it to eat that. He grabbed a fire extinguisher nearby and hurled it at the creature's face, causing it to stagger backward. Taking advantage of the confusion, the boy passed by, retrieved his axe, and snatched the key. Knowing he couldn't kill the monster, he ran toward the elevator, desperately hoping the zombies wouldn't get close. Clearly, a few were already approaching. He noticed strange green veins on his face and wondered if that medicine had some side effects. The zombie continued to approach, but he quickly noticed it was wearing a police uniform and had a gun in its waist. The problem was that his body felt weak now, and more zombies were jumping at him from behind. He grabbed his beaten-up shield and managed to defend himself, but unfortunately, he'd have to leave the gun for later as he threw himself into the elevator. The creatures approached and finally the door closed. He was exhausted. He hadn't had a moment to rest. The system informed him that now, in the presidential area, he could use the card to enter a room without any zombies. However, the boy was struggling with accursed poison spreading through his body. He said he couldn't resist much longer. He finally entered the suite, saw a refrigerator, dropped his axe, and started dragging himself toward it. When he opened it, at least there was a ton of water. He began drinking, and the strange curse seemed to disappear. It looked like water was even more valuable in this world than he thought. Having so much of it in that room, he basically had a treasure. Outside, everyone was being eaten by the creatures, while our boy was enjoying the good life. But man, this zombie play had way too many creatures, and people outside were screaming not to let them in, while our boy was belching on the couch after drinking a Coke. Another guy with blue hair was with his group, hammering away at some zombies. His name was Jenha Hao, and he was suffering while the protagonist feasted. On the roof, a katana-wielding one killed 3 people who didn't seem to be zombies. He thanked them for gathering supplies and said they were true heroes, while our boy just burped on the sofa. Rand said it was time to head to the police station to get some weapons. Sometime later, KN finally fell. The city was completely overrun. In another location, Jenha was monitoring the system and wanted to save more people and establish a survivor camp there. But the people with him were just praying to survive the night. A girl under a table told them not to be afraid. Back to our boy, he decided it was time to check out his loot. With an inventory that felt like something out of Minecraft, he had collected some fabrics, production items, and weapons. He realized he had gotten a lot of stuff but would have to discard some of it to carry more water. He had also found a car key, and the system informed him that there were important items in the parking lot. The boy noticed there was some kind of global chat and wondered how the other players were doing. Some people were talking about dying of thirst, others about searching for a hospital, and of course some were trying to negotiate items. He saw a message from Jenha, who was trying to organize a base with his friends, and he was impressed. However, he didn't want anyone to find out about his ability, so he decided to continue traveling alone. At that moment, he noticed that a lot of people seemed to be selling sausages and water. It seemed that with the system you could also trade items, which was perfect for him since he needed to get rid of a lot of stuff. He noticed that a guy named Wu was selling sausages and water in exchange for a bunch of energy cores. He thought it was a good idea, but he knew that in an apocalypse the value of water and food would only increase. So instead of selling food, he sold weapons and got more water and food. That's when a guy named Zio Xiu announced the map of the city campus. To get it, you had to join a private chat, and he accepted. Strangely, he saw an image of a sad and worn-out girl. The boy asked for the price, and she said she wanted water and a little food. He knew that with the map, it would be easy to figure out where the supplies were and which areas were dangerous. But he didn't want to let her know how much he valued it. So he made a low offer of half a bottle of water and some leftover food he'd eaten, asking if she wanted it. His plan was to gradually raise the offer, but she accepted immediately. He confirmed the trade in the system, and the girl, emotional, said that he was truly different from others, not just helping for personal gain. The boy felt a little embarrassed and said it was always good to help people. She started drinking the water desperately, and he told her to slow down. He decided to add her as a friend so he could send her more later. He then asked if they could add each other and whether her location had as many resources as the map suggested. However, before she could respond, the chat ended. He figured she might be afraid of him because she was a girl and decided it was time to get some sleep. Another day dawned, and as always, there were zombies everywhere. Jenga, no matter where he was always surrounded by girls. He was planning to go to the hospital to see if there were any resources or medicines there, while the boy decided to go down to the second floor, armed with a shield and an axe. It was time to handle things. As soon as the elevator door opened, he dashed out in desperation. But strangely, the hallway was empty. He wondered what had happened. Even more bizarre was the human blood on the floor. He didn't remember seeing any other players, not to mention it was only a drop, which meant it wasn't from a zombie, as they would have torn the person apart. This suggested that a player had been hunted by another. Worse, the killer probably took the revolver he had been after. Fortunately, he was on the 3rd floor, and the person didn't have the keycard. He started heading down the stairs, knowing he had to go to the lower floor to find that car. Meanwhile, Durham was jumping through a window, checking his stats to see if there was anyone else around. Considering the place was still somewhat empty, it must have been Durham who took the revolver. Our boy, meanwhile, was running through the parking lot, pressing the alarm to see which car was his. Soon, a big black armored vehicle beeped, but the signal also alerted some zombies. However, for these level 1 creatures, he was the biggest threat. He immediately smacked one in the face, collected some items as usual, and headed to the car. Since it was a special mission vehicle, there was something more inside, a shotgun and a bunch of ammo. The boy felt rich now. He wanted to see if there were more resources around. Besides, that assassin might be waiting for him by the elevator. Elsewhere in the hallway, a can dropped to the floor. Dervin was hiding, wondering what made that sound. Our boy had his weapon in hand. This had turned into Pugy. The system hacks informed him that there was an armed guy just ahead. Luckily, the boy was moving cautiously and hadn't been noticed yet. The controlled Ender looked at it suspiciously. Our boy, a camper, said he wouldn't move unless the guy moved. Suddenly, someone outside started screaming for help. It seemed like the same woman from before, and somehow she was still alive. At that moment, he heard the guy say it looked like the bastard was on the lower floor. Taking the opportunity, the boy jumped out of cover, aiming at him, but the hallway was empty. It seemed the guy had actually gone downstairs and believed him. The poor girl was tied to a tree, suffering in the apocalypse, begging for forgiveness and saying she was about to die. She asked the guys to help her, but 2 weirdos from a house said they had saved her, so she just needed to do what they told her. The fat one told her to keep screaming, since she hadn't attracted everything yet. His friend beside him questioned whether he could really handle all that. The fat one said he saw a guy with an axe killing 8 zombies without breaking a sweat, so they could handle it too. Meanwhile, the poor girl was surrounded by zombies, and I thought a hero was going to arrive, but she got bitten. At that moment, her screams attracted even more zombies, and the poor girl became the next victim in the story. The excited fat guy said it was time for them to advance and kill at least 20. He came from behind with a big axe in front of him, but the attack got stuck in the girl's hair. Now, he realized it wasn't that easy to kill those creatures. The next second, the guy was running in desperation, crying for help, with a legion of zombies chasing after the 2 of them. What he couldn't understand was why his attack didn't work. He gave his friend the classic push, saying there was no choice and apologizing, saying that unfortunately, it was the apocalypse. His poor friend, in agony, said that when he turned into a zombie, he would eat that fat bastard. Our boy was hiding behind the grass, just camping, watching how morality had completely collapsed in this world. The worst part was that the fat guy was running in his direction, which attracted a ton of zombies and revealed his position. But then, the guy tripped over a little rock and fell flat on his chin. Our boy smiled, saying he deserved it, and yet another person became a meal. Suddenly, a zombie seemed to turn around. He quickly hid, afraid that the creature had noticed him. Not wanting to fire a shot and attract more attention, he pulled out his axe. The zombie got ready, and our boy went straight at him. 3 zombies lunged at him, but with his strengthened body, the axe sliced through them cleanly. He cleared out the creatures, and when he was done, he looked at the fat guy's body. The system told him that he could loot the resources and even use the fat guy's ring to upgrade his own. Our boy quickly realized that the only way to strengthen his warehouse was by killing other people. But then, the system told him to look up. He threw himself to the side, narrowly avoiding a sword strike from Jiren, who was impressed that the kid was that fast. Now, our boy would have to deal with this guy. Gans smiled, saying that he finally appeared and revealed that he had jumped from the window just to trap him. The protagonist asked how he knew he was behind the wall. Jiren laughed, saying that the trick was ridiculous and that being so inexperienced, he was going to die at his hands. Our boy, looking desperate, said that they wouldn't know until they fought. Jiren smiled, saying that at least he was confident. In an instant, he advanced with a punch that destroyed the boy's shield. Jiren warned that he would now experience the strength of someone with abnormal power. Our boy got a slight kiss on the cheek and nearly died. However, he pulled out his axe and went for Jiren's ribs, but the guy quickly noticed and kicked him. And that's how this Dragon Ball Z fight went, with our boy getting thrown far away. Gan asked what he thought of his fractured sternum, and the protagonist realized that this guy was extremely experienced in combat. But Jiren simply said that his game was about to end and jumped toward him. However, the boy charged ahead first and grabbed him by the waist. Jiren was surprised that the boy could still move. Running with Jiren in his grip, our protagonist asked why they couldn't live peacefully. Gan elbowed him in the ribs, making him spit blood, but he kept running and asked why Gan didn't just use his gun. Gan replied that since the boy wanted it so badly, he'd grant his wish, pulling out the gun. At that moment, the boy bit Jiren's arm, telling him he would kill him. He threw him away, and while Jiren was off balance in the air, the boy started pulling out his shotgun. But Jiren smiled and aimed his revolver, only to find a cannon pointed at his forehead. Exhausted, our boy now had Jiren sweating, saying that they could negotiate. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the city, a horde of zombies was running toward a truck. It was Jane and his group of friends. He told everyone to head back to the gymnasium. If you thought our boy would forgive Jiren, you're wrong. His heart was pounding, but Jiren was sent to the next life. The problem was that our boy could barely move his body anymore. Just then, that girl from before X show wanted to talk to him. She appeared and asked why he looked so beaten up and exhausted. The boy was told by her to get up because there were several zombies right behind him. She said she'd send him some adrenaline and told him to use it for a bit of strength. A system notified him that in 3 seconds he'd enter a berserker state. He immediately injected it into his thigh. However, a few seconds still remained, and the zombies were slowly approaching. He grabbed Jan's sword, which was lying next to him, and as soon as the timer hit 0, he stood up, slashing everyone around him. Man, that boy started cutting through everything. The adrenaline's effect would last 10 minutes, enough for him to make it back. But then he saw a crowd gathering because of the gunshot. N's confidence wasn't as high anymore, and the zombies were already closing in on him. The problem was there were creatures behind him too. He headed into another corridor and found a whole bunch more. Just as the ones behind him were about to catch up, he, in all his swag, threw his pistol back over his shoulder. But when he pulled the trigger, nothing, it was empty. He dodged Mommy's attack slowly but ended up tripping and falling like an idiot. He noticed a fallen parking sign and seemed to have an idea. He stood up, slashing through the ones in front of him, ran to the sign, and ripped it from the ground. When he turned around, a whole bunch more were coming, but he was confident, shouting for them to die. Meanwhile, someone above was watching, wondering how one guy was beating 10 zombies alone. From the top of one of the buses, a guy opened a window and told everyone to check out this legend. But then something caught our boy's attention. A fat zombie appeared in front of him. The system alerted him that the path ahead led to the river, where some wires could stop this zombie army. Everyone was watching our boy, obviously curious to know who this legend was. The boy kept running until he reached the metal wall. It was his only chance to escape. He jumped over it, and at least now he was safe. He turned and said goodbye to the fools, but then his body began to collapse. The effects of the medicine had worn off, and he fell like a sack of potatoes. He tried to get up, but it wasn't easy. The system informed him that if he leveled up, he'd gain a stronger physique and that he had enough resources to do so. When he opened his inventory, he saw that it was full of food, water, and a ton of weapons, everything he looted from Gan. He had 105 energy cores, which he needed to level up. Of course, he immediately accepted. As soon as he leveled up, it felt like his body had reset, and he was full of energy. The system notified him that he had reached the peak of the human body rank and that to level up again, he would need 300 cores. Our boy felt like his hand was as solid as stone, and to test it, he punched another zombie, destroying it instantly. The most amazing thing was that it didn't even leave a mark on his hand. He cried from the dust that flew into his eye, and the system informed him that he had been detected and that his ring was full. Since he had both Gan's ring and the other guy's, he could evolve his own to level 2 and gain more space. Seeing that everything had worked out, he realized it was thanks to the girl who gave him the adrenaline at the crucial moment. The system warned that, in 10 days, the zombies and mutants would get stronger. The people hiding were all devastated, as they didn't even have decent weapons yet. But Genha tried to stay positive, saying that as long as they kept working together, they would survive this crisis. Someone approached and said that starting tomorrow, they would attack the supermarket to gather strength. The muscle bee's name was Kai Hongda, and the girl with the slim waist was Ken Xinu. Knowing the zombies would get stronger, everyone was determined to attack that place. The scene shifted to our boy's friend, who was eating desperately. He told her to slow down because no one was going to steal it from her. She happily said she was glad her medicine hadn't gone to waste. Our boy thanked her, saying that without her, he would have died. She replied that she had only done what was expected: help others. But the boy said there weren't many normal people left in this world anymore. She seemed to agree, a little sad. He then commented that she had been hiding under a table since that day and asked her to tell him where she was so he could go save her. At that moment, she seemed startled. He noticed that she was about to close the conversation and told her not to do that he just wanted to share his house with her. It was big and even had a functional bathroom. She could live there. But she just thanked him for the food and drink and said goodbye. Our boy realized that this girl didn't trust him at all. From under the table, she said it would be great to get out of that place, but people didn't know the real danger of this world. She started sweating as she looked out the window. A giant pole rose in front of her. Sometime later, back with the protagonist who's running around, he notices some meat potato seeds on the ground. The name says it all. It's a potato from this world that tastes like meat and contains protein. After some time, our boy is back home, but the window is broken, everything in the fridge has been stolen, and his room has been ransacked. Meanwhile, elsewhere, something breaks through a window. A creature with a giant tongue starts crawling down the wall. Our boy is aiming at the window but relaxes when he realizes that if there were something dangerous, the system would have alerted him. But then he hears a burp behind him. He immediately aims his weapon and yells for whoever it is to get out. What appears is a trembling little girl. Confused, the boy wonders why there's a little girl there. He calls her Little Rat and says it looks like she was the one who stole everything. Embarrassed, she hesitates before admitting it, then changes her mind, saying it wasn't true, that she didn't steal anything or break anything. But our boy tells her to stop lying with a hammer in her hand. Embarrassed, she claims it wasn't her and asks for a bottle of water. Just as the boy is about to call her shameless, she smashes his foot with a hammer. Startled, he gets punched in the face as he stumbles back. She runs off, thanking him for the storage ring. Furious, our boy wonders why he didn't just shoot the girl. He heads to the door, questioning why the system didn't give him a hint this time. But just then, the girl reappears and asks if he still has that gun. He questions whether she's really trying to steal it. She closes the door, warning that a zombie is coming. He tells her she better return the ring or she'll be the one turning into a zombie with a hole in her head. At that moment, the system warns him to watch out for the window. The giant tongue creature bursts into the room. It's a lava walker, extremely fast but with poor vision. The girl hits it in the head with her hammer, impressing our boy with her strength. At least she bought him some time. He takes the chance to land a blow on the creature's forehead, and it drops dead. Relieved, he realizes that these mutants aren't as hard to deal with as he thought. He turns to the girl and tells her it's time for her to get a bullet too unless she returns the ring. But the creature starts getting up again. Both are shocked to see it still alive. He tells her to return the ring because he's out of bullets. She responds by saying he should just give her 2 bullets, and she'll handle the rest. He dodges and tells her to give it back already. He kicks the creature in the head, sending it crashing into the wardrobe. Finally, the girl hands over the ring. The boy grabs it just as the creature lunges at him again. He reloads his gun and tries to shoot, but the creature dodges and clings to the ceiling. Our boy quickly realizes this thing is smarter than a normal zombie, especially since it changes targets and goes after the girl. She tries to defend herself but doesn't have much of a chance. The boy tosses her a katana. As soon as the creature falls, he collects the body and receives 15 energy cores. Turning to the girl, he tells her to get lost before he takes her out too. But she says he's her new boss since he's loaded with good weapons and resources. He raises his arm, about to say something, but she already calls him boss and warns him that he has been wounded by the creature. The crazy girl starts laughing, saying that since he's going to turn into a zombie in 2 hours, she might as well kill him now to spare him the pain. Furious, he demands to know why he should pay for her stupidity and says that before he dies, she'll pay the price. Scared, she asks what he's going to do. With a serious expression, he tells her it's obvious he's going to make her die. She leaves, saying she'll be back soon and that when he's a zombie, she'll smash his head in with her hammer. At least he's glad she finally left. The next morning, she's wondering where her zombie boss went so she could grab all those resources. Of course, he had already left, looking for better places. Using the map PXU had sold him, he crosses a bridge, and the system tells him that this is the perfect place since there are no zombies. He enters a large warehouse and starts looking around the room. Then he hears a strange sound behind him. Bending down to check under the table, he finds a baby moon king wolf, a rank S creature that can be tamed by feeding it. Our boy seems excited to find this rank S creature, but the little wolf doesn't look happy after being startled. Naturally, the boy seizes the opportunity and tosses it a piece of meat. The wolf slowly approaches and starts sniffing. As soon as it begins to eat, the boy gets excited. The favorability level is still at 0, but to tame it, he needs to reach 100. What's most impressive is that the current combat ability of this creature is equivalent to an extremely strong and well-armed human. The lucky boy realizes he's a very lucky guy. Meanwhile, inside the supermarket, Joe's group is worn out. Some people are kneeling in front of them, crying in desperation. Django tells them to give them some food. Jenny says it doesn't make sense. After all, in 2 hours they'll turn into zombies anyway. But Jenha says that since they got injured protecting them, they should at least get something good to eat before they die. Everyone falls silent but seems to agree. However, Hand, standing nearby, thinks their leader is an idiot. Our boy was down to his last piece of meat. The dog was happy, and the favorability had reached 99. Finally, he tamed the Moon King Wolf, a combat pet named Pang, which ate zombie meat, animal meat, and mutant meat. The boy then called the wolf over and told it to drink some water while worrying about Phase 2 approaching. That night, they were digging something on the beach, and Pang was making some holes. However, our boy told him he had no more seeds, so that was enough. Unfortunately, he had to spend his water bottles to water the crops since it wasn't raining. Phase 2 was about to start, and he urgently needed a way to start purifying the water. He told Pang to guard the house and not let anyone approach the island. In the chat, he noticed that all the city's water supplies seemed to have become strangely polluted. Jenha was still announcing that he had 15 survivors with him and was accepting anyone with abnormal strength ranks in the city. People were starting to get used to surviving against level 1 zombies. A girl was celebrating until she got hit by an arrow. Zombies might become familiar, but there are other people out there hunting too. A poor couple said Kai, the scared man, had ordered the girl killed, but the redhead asked if she wasn't enough, telling him to stop wasting time and to go collect the items. However, he told her to wait. Someone else had arrived. The system warned him to be careful of the 3rd floor window, where 2 bandits with bows and arrows were lurking. He knew these ambushers must be killing lots of people that way. The guy told the girl to wait because he had a better plan. He sent a message to someone named Leon, telling him to come toward them because they had a good catch. Our boy knew it would take at least 20 seconds to get up to the 3rd floor, so he needed to find a way to make them come down. Then 2 people appeared in front of him, and he immediately knew they must be allies. The leader of the group told him to hand over all his valuables, and he would be spared. But our boy simply told him the same. Just then, a guy emerged from the bushes behind him. At the same moment, the girl fired an arrow, but our boy was like a ninja, catching it before it touched his chest. The problem was, because of that, he took a hammer blow to the spine. The guy celebrated, calling everyone over and wondering how such a weak kid could be the boss. The scarred man didn't want to come down, but the girl jumped down immediately. When she hit the ground, she asked how he could be the boss if he was so scared, especially since the boy was already dead. But at that moment, the scared guy shouted for everyone to be careful. Our boy got up behind the first guy and cracked him across the back, saying that now everyone was in the same place. Another one came at him from behind, but our boy stood still and split the guy in two. Then the system warned him to watch out for a grenade. It seemed like that warning came just in time. The leader grabbed the redhead and told her to run because the kid was strong. All the leader's buddies died in the explosion, and our boy managed to climb up to the next floor. The redhead asked why they were running, and the leader said that with that kind of speed, the boy must be at the limit of the human body, a rank far above theirs. He looked back and saw someone following them, realizing that the boy would catch up soon. They both stopped and were startled by a giant zombie in front of them, and right behind them our boy appeared. The leader said he knew they made a mistake by attacking the boy and offered to give him half of everything they had. But our boy said he wasn't a beggar. He wanted 80%. The scarred man didn't want to accept, and the redhead said that once the giant zombies arrived, there would be no escape anyway. The protagonist told them they would be waiting for the zombies together. The system warned him that he would die instantly from a hit by the giant zombie. The twisted, hulking creature slowly approached, and the couple started to panic. The leader told the boy to drop his sword, and they would hand over the 80%. Our boy, without fear, threw his sword immediately, but that was part of the leader's plan. He was going to throw a grenade instead and steal the sword. However, the protagonist was just smiling. The giant zombie kept advancing, and the leader couldn't find the stupid grenade. That's when someone yanked the ring off his finger. He turned to ask Shia what she was doing, but the apocalyptic woman just shoved him. The poor guy had nowhere to run and took a massive punch from the giant as his body was flung into the distance. He wondered why she did that. She said she gave him a chance to prove his love by helping hold off the zombies, and the poor guy was finally crushed. Then she pulled the pin on the grenade and blew everything up on top of the zombie. The boy was impressed by her reckless act. Of course, her friend was already dead. She saw the storage ring drop to the ground because what she had stolen was only the grenade. Just then, the giant zombie lunged at our boy. The system told him to run away from the giant and chase the girl instead. That was a better choice. He decided to come back for the ring and the sword later. Meanwhile, someone found the body of the girl who had been shot with the arrow. It was Zhang Hao's group. They knew he had been a bandit, but what they couldn't understand was why the resources hadn't been stolen. Then a guy yelled from a distance, saying that all the bandits they had seen were dead. Zhang Hao was shocked and told everyone to stay alert, believing it to be a trap. The redhead appeared around the corner, asking why the crazy guy was following her instead of going after the ring. But man, she got kissed on the forehead and dropped dead instantly. Our boy appeared looking desperate. Zheng told everyone not to move. Without hesitation, the boy went to the redhead's body and started collecting the items. Zheng told his friend to grab the rings from the nearby body and hand everything over to the boy. If he still refused to let them go, Han would lead a group to escape. Zheng then assured the boy that they had no bad intentions, and the lovely Xenu placed the rings on the ground, offering a lot of valuable items in this apocalypse. However, our boy isn't simple-minded and quickly reloads 12 rounds. The poor redhead realizes that her charm didn't work. Django warns everyone to be careful. Our boy picks up the ring and says he didn't kill those people, so it belongs to them. He returns it and walks away, and Zhenhe asks him his name. Our boy says they can call him Lu Feng. Is it just me, or did we just now find out this guy's name? Our boy returned to the giant's area, but unfortunately didn't find the sword or the ring. Behind a wall, guess who he found? That little brat, all happy because she found something amazing. With no other choice, he returns to his base. The crops had succeeded, but they would take 120 days to grow unless he used some fertilizer. He gathered 200 fertilizers, 20 of which increased the growth speed even more. After using them, the growth time was cut in half. Now he just had to wait for the seeds to plant everything and have an endless food supply. On the redhead's body, he found a recipe for a simple water purifier. Pang was bringing the results from the item, and it seemed to work well, though the amount of water produced was still small. He stopped and told Pang it was time to see how he fights.